At least this is way wicked than I ever expected. So the fifth installment in the Descendants franchise, titled Wicked Wonderland, has just been released. And the story of this movie continued what really happened before though, because as you may know from the previous film, The Rise of Red literally messed up the timeline by, I kid you not, used a pocket watch to change her mom, literally her mom, the Queen of Hearts, for being ruthless to somewhat nice by just preventing the one trick that Uliana did to her. Yes, that Uliana, Ursula's baby sister. But what really happened though is that everything has changed. Now that the Queen of Hearts is nice, we found out that there were some very weird developments. Pink is here, Wes's little sister for some reason, and Maddox had her, Wes's little mentor of some sorts, is now a villain, which is weird. Also, there were some very, very weird developments that really happened in this film. So, at least this is way wicked than I ever expected. But I have a lot of things I have to say here. So, for today's video, I will review all of this, and I'm gonna share my own thoughts on that. So, with that matter, my name is Duncan Nichols, and let's get this review started. Now, before I'll go on with the whole decom itself, which is explained a little bit. So, as you may know, this is the fifth installment of this franchise, and not only that, but it is the second installment of the ones that star Kylie Cantor and Maria Baker as the lead roles. So, yeah, it has been in development since 2021, goddamn. And this was one of the two new Descendants movies that were in development, with the one of them ended up being its predecessor, The Rise of Red, which was released in 2024. Now, after the release of that film, Suzanne Todd, the film's executive producer, said that considering the movie ends with, the unforeseen consequences of time, that Red literally did that, and also Chloe as well. Well, a sequel might be in the works, and it was eventually confirmed that Disney is definitely working on and thinking about a follow-up movie, and that because of what really happened in The Rise of Red. In the sequel, there will be some future good and evil turns for sure, as she said, and everything seems to go very easily, as in February 2025, Cantor, Baker, and Leonardo Nam were eventually reprising their roles, and a little later though, in May, Brandy, Rhea, Paolo, and Melanie were reprising their roles as well. But also in February, Liamani Segura, Brendan Tremblay, Alexandra Bird, and Kiara Romero joined the cast. And a month later comes Joel Olet, Savian Garrett, Wayne McEwen, and Dayton Paradis. Yeah. Now, filming began for this film in Vancouver, which is basically the same as it is, under the working title For the Win on April 1st, and concluded 2 months later to the date on June 1st. Camera tests then began on March 27th, which is a little, maybe 5 days from when production began, though. On May 6, 2025, it was eventually announced on the Descendants Instagram account that Wicked Wonderland is the official title for that film. So, yeah. And, as you may know, the film is, at that time, is about to finish its production, though. So, leading up to its premiere, June 8th, Awkwafina was confirmed that she will be voicing Cheesy. Editor's note, I have mispronounced Chessie as Cheesy, so whoops. Cheshire, the daughter of the Cheshire Cat, which, to be honest, this is interesting that we got another very, I might say, well-known actress to play something like this. We know that Rita had played various roles. I might say she's a great singer, and Brandy did as well. She used to play Cinderella at one point. But, yeah. But let's just get through all of this. As you may know, let's take a little debrief of the cast. Kylie is Red, Malia is Chloe, and, the rest, as you may know. And, yeah, I have anything to say here, but, yeah, I don't have any words about this. So, what the hell is this now? So, yeah. So, Wicked Wonderland has premiered on July 16th, 2026 on Disney Channel, and eventually went on to hit Disney Plus the following day. And what really happened is that now that the Queen of Hearts is nice and Cinderella is safe thanks to the events of the Rise of Red, things seems to be good for Red and Chloe now, but they didn't even know that Maddox is now a villain. But when Maddox captured the Queen of Hearts, Red and Chloe must work together with Red's new sister Pink, Louis, and Max to save her in Wonderland, and of which that happened really quickly. So let's just take a debrief at what really happened. And spoilers ahead, as I just said in the start of this video. So, anyways, the movie starts with Cheesy explaining the events of what really happened in the last film. Then the camera then head over to the Hedge Maze, where Red and Chloe went, and then about to head over to the Wonderland Royal Boat, where they put the pocket watch. And they talk about how each of their moms is now safe and nice and promise to be best friends. And as they head out, the Royal Boat goes back inside the ground, and then changes start to happen in Wonderland, creating new things. But then, inside the lair, there was a device that has eyes on the pocket watch, and a shadow appears in the room, of which, let's face it, this is going to be a very wild one. And I have to say that because that person will explain a little bit later. But as a new day rolls in, of course, Red and Chloe seems to have their days fit in now that their moms are safe and nicer than ever, and Red now has a younger sister though, as they march on to head over to Aradon Prep, of course, and they literally met some people here, like the son of Luisa Madrigal and Robin Hood, Louis and Robbie, of which these two have some very great chemistry though for some reason. Meanwhile, you get the other ones, the VKs on the other side, because as you know, Red, Chloe, and maybe Pink, Louis, and Robbie are the HKs or Hero Kids, or whatever we call it. But the VKs are Max, Hazel, Felix, Squeaky, and Squirmy, of which, to be honest, this is interesting. Like, literally. Yeah, and I have to say about that, they talk about how perfect princess this is, because that's basically the first song that played in this film, I might say. But after that, everyone seems to have a little development at Aradon Prep, of which Cheshire, Cheesy has decided to explain a little bit more about Maddox Hatter. You're that right, Maddox is actually a villain now, of which after the events, well, things have gone very, very weird about this guy here, and I don't have anything to say about it because he's planning to steal the watch, the pocket watch, from the vault, of which he commanded his, whatever these are, to find it. And yeah, but back to Aradon Prep, Red and Chloe seems to have some very, very weird developments though, because they're talking about the new VK some sorts, but they decide to have some little connection with the HKs as well. But that's a very weird feud than I ever expected here, because yeah, I did watch the movie and I barely can remember anything from watching it, because yeah. Then we move forward to the Queen of Hearts, of which she is nicer than I ever expected. She wanted to do a party, but unfortunately Maddox came here, and what did he do? Yes, he commanded to get the pocket watch back, but the Queen of Hearts didn't even want to do that, because yeah, that's a very, very not so great thing that literally can change everything. So what did Maddox do? They put her guards to sleep, and so did her, which is crazy, like totally crazy. And he literally locked up the whole castle with oh my god, foliage, god damn it. This is very, very, very wicked, I might say here. And Maddox did very bad, but whatever. Let's just head back now, because the Queen of Hearts did send a very, very, very warning to Red, of course, and that really happened in one go. And yeah, things have gone considerably weird though, because not only that, but they also alerted the fairy godmother and Cinderella. And even though that Cinderella is still very strict about Chloe going with Red, well, needless to say that things went according to plan, because she didn't obey her mom once again. Whatever's going on with her, I don't know. Then, of course, Red and Chloe decide to get back to Wonderland and to save, the Queen of Hearts. But then something happened the VKs joined in, so did Lewis and Robbie, and Pink. And literally, after a little disagreement, they decided to go with it. So they decided to hop on Wonderland, and you know what happened. So once, of course, they fall into Wonderland, well, Red and Chloe has some very weird illusions. And yeah, that is so crazy. But once they arrive, well, look at how colorful Wonderland is. Oh my god. I have to say, a couple of things about Wonderland. It is much colorful than what it was, I might say here. But except for the fact that the castle is way different than it looks in the Rise of Red, by the way. So, yeah, I just noticed. But anyways, as I said here, they decided to hop on an adventure to save the Queen of Hearts, of course, as I said here. So they went on some very, very crazy things. Like, you know, Pink is still even a little, nice though, because she has some, I don't know, some great chemistry though, for some reason. Even Red is kind of it on whatever I have to say here. But anyways, but as soon as they settled in, well, Maddox discovered it. Yes, Maddox did know a lot about this, and eventually he decided to, I kid you not, mess around by singing a song about why he has always been mad for literally no reason here, like totally. Now, what really happened is that, you know, the whole gang literally go around and just find ways to escape his, you know, mess. But anyways, they escaped. Red and Lewis literally had a moment together, of course, when they got out, and they decided to find the rest of the gang, of which they're in a different location, of which that really happened all in one piece, which somehow it worked, I might say, but it is. So from what really happened after that, Red and Chloe eventually reconciled after a little walk, and then everybody has some plans on how to get this, you know, stopped. So yeah. So let's fast forward to nighttime, where the gang decided to stop upon this Moria tree, or whatever you call it, where they decide to settle in for the night. Then they decide to, kid you not, do something interesting here, where I don't have anything to say, but they really Cheesy had to start manipulating Lewis and Hazel, saying stuff like, or whatever, blah, 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 whatever, explain about it. So, lyrically, moving on to the next song here, yeah, you know, they decided to outflex and gossip about each other for some reason, of which, you know, a very weird development here, as it's kind of a rumor development between the two sides, which is kind of interesting though. But yeah, that really happened though for some reason, which is something. So yeah, a little bit too odd, but yeah, of course. So yeah, after that very weird development though, they decided to discuss a little bit more, but when out of nowhere, Maddox literally took them to a little chessboard. Yes, a very, very small chessboard for no reason. And yeah, that really happened when they were still talking about everything else. And that really happened all in one thing. All in one thing. So, what happened after that? Well, they decided to play a game of chess, of which it was all manipulated. And this was now another night falls. like totally, literally, they literally, I have to say here, but what they did is basically similar to that in Night Falls, as you can see here. So the gang decided to fight up those, you know, those, whatever these are, like, I don't know what chess term is that, but yeah, they decided to fight around and make it through the other side, of which that was a little bit not so great because of how Maddox is controlling these. So what did they do is that Red literally, I kid you not, did a backup plan. Doing Hazel decided to cut on one flower that is actually a little corrupt, and little did they do is that she literally pushed Fling Red into that, you know, one figure that somehow got its floor rose up and eventually took down, of which that's actually the king for no reason, of which all of those figures have been certainly pushed out of existence. So yeah, this is kind of a bit crazy, like very, very crazy. So after that very, very weird moment though, they decide to stumble upon the chessboard a little bit until Pink realizes that she found those cookies that was made, of which that really went back to where they were, which is crazy, right? Totally crazy. Never have ever seen that before. So yeah, which is interesting to hear that. But of course, so we just head over and we just stumbling along and yeah, they decide to continue the journey anyway. But back to, you know, the Queen of Hearts though, Cinderella decided to do something that she didn't never have done. She decided to open up the mirror and decide to get on to the castle, but then those vines literally blocked her, so she decided to use the broom to get those out, and yeah, she broke in and she eventually found the Queen of Hearts. But then Maddox shockingly surprised them by breaking that mirror, of which, you know, King Charming is so worried about it. So yeah, but now let's go back to where we're supposed to stay here. So fast forward to nighttime again, and they decide to settle now at this place, at White Rabbit's, you know, cottage or whatever this thing is. So they decide to settle a little bit though for a little while, and yeah, and Chloe at this point, well, she is not feeling great right now. Like, I don't know what's going on with her mind, because something is wrong. Something's really wrong with her, like, I don't know. Because she has been worrying about all of this ever since the whole thing really started, and yeah, Red tried to comfort her, but yeah, that didn't happen. But we're gonna explain a little bit more, because what really happened before that is that Lewis decided to take Red a little out, because they wanted to discuss a little bit about how they I don't know what to say here, but what really happened is that yeah, they literally sing along in the whole forest, like, for some reason, which is interesting though. I really like their chemistry, which is so great, but it is. So yeah, then they decide to head back to the cottage, of course, as I said, and as I said, Red talked to Chloe, but then Chloe decided to get away, and Max, I don't know where he went as well. Well, I'm gonna explain it a little bit later. Back to the castle, where the Queen of Hearts and Cinderella take a little moment about how they were basically what they were in their high school days, and yeah, it is. So and then literally, I don't know what to say here. So after that very moment, Maddox decided to trap them. I don't know what I have to say here, but let's go back to Max. So Max went out of nowhere and decided to stop into, you know, the house that Maddox have been have lived in, at least ever since that I don't know what really happened after he got into he was out of the Eye of the Lost. Well, but yeah, he decided to take a look at the oraculum, which is the thing that his father made up, and he literally saw what really happened, along with Cheesy as well. So but what Max saw is that Red literally lied to her, like, literally, and this was shocking, like, totally. So what really happened after that? Max broke the oraculum, and then eventually decided to make a plan, whatever this thing is, to, I kid you not, turn Chloe into evil. And that all really happened when they sang Heartless. So yeah, and now that Chloe is now evil for whatever no reason or sure, well, they decide to hung along and continue what his dad wanted to do. So let's move on to the next day now, where Red and Pink had a little weird wondering, also Lewis as well, to find out where the hell are, you know, these two went, Max and Chloe, of course, of which we found out that they're also searching for the pocket watch, and they decide to hand it back to Maddox. And what really happened now is that Lewis and Red decide to follow them, with Pink soon after, but failed. What was going on here? But yeah, so the chase didn't go very seriously as well. The hedge maze is kind of a bit magical, as I might say, because some doors open, some doors close, which one of them literally took Lewis with it, and it trapped him. So yeah, and while these two were keeping Max and Chloe decided to keep looking for it, Red seems to be isolated. She is not feeling great right now, and because of that reason, well, she decided to hang on along and decided to do a very powerful ballad, of which during that time, after she sang the whole line, Welp, and understanding what the hell is going on with her, well, she found out a serious thing, a thing from her childhood, that treasure that she and Ping had shared with during her time. Well, that thing literally reminded her, and eventually after that, Red decided to call on Pink, and that happened. So yeah, and the hedge literally allowed Pink to get in after she said something. So yeah, and after that moment, they decide to go along and decide to finish this that battle, of course. But after that moment, after they discovered that, and what really happened is that Pink literally ate, the cookie thing, and which she literally mega mushroomed herself. She just literally mega mushroomed herself, totally. Very crazy. What a crazy thing that really happened here, but yeah, but let's move forward now to what really happened next. So, yeah, Max and Chloe decide to reach on the vault and decide to open it, and eventually decide to take on, the pocket watch. But then Red shows up and decide to do something. Pink commanded to do her thing, stomp, and eventually it all really happened. The vault was destroyed, at least, trapping, Red, Chloe, and Max inside, of course. And what really happened is that they decided to fall on a little bit, though. But then, on the other side of the aisle, yeah, Maddox is still really satisfied with how his son is doing, though. And while the Queen of Hearts and Cinderella were not so happy with it, well, he decided to go on with it. So, yeah, during that development, though, yeah, everything seems to be crumbling here, as much as it can be said here. But, yeah. So after a sudden boulder almost crushed Max, well, things have gone very considerably in a different turn, as Red argued with Chloe for a little bit, but then, after thinking about the consequences, Chloe decided to get this thing out. So she literally broke that thing that Max made, and eventually they decided to throw the pocket watch into whatever this thing is. Now that alongside Pink is also here as well, so yeah. But when that pocket watch went in, a message showed up, of which that literally made Maddox so mad about it. So after that very weird development, though, and what really happened is that at Red, Chloe, Pink, and Max showed up in the in the castle alongside their other friends as well. Lewis, Hazel, whatever. And they decided to finish off that development, though, as, what really happened after that is that they fought Maddox. And what really happened after that is that they literally, I might say, a lot of things really happened during that moment, though. So, now that one of the cards, if I remember correctly, did free the Queen of Hearts and Cinderella, though, well, the Queen of Hearts did one certain thing by, I kid you not, trapping Maddox in a chandelier. This is kind of a bit weird, but that was a great way to defeat him. But yeah, after that, everyone reconciled, and yeah, this is very missing that it's now only happened. Now that the pocket watch is now no longer a thing now, well, at least everyone's now reconciled, which is so great. And so for that, the Queen of Hearts is so happy that she decided to throw a tea party, of which that really ended off. So yeah, the tea party is fun, you know, it is colorful, I might say, but it's a great way to end up the movie. Even the fairy godmother is also here as well, so that's something. But it's interesting that we saw the cast in their different outfits than what we saw in most of the film, which is interesting though. But yeah, and the Cheshire and you know Cheesy, she's not really happy with happy endings for some reason. But yeah, and seeing that Maddox is still trapped and a little dancing for a little bit is a bit interesting though. So let's move on to the ending of this film, of which this. Oh boy, we got another cliffhanger, guys. So once Pink literally stumbled upon the treasure box thing, she decided to stumble upon and take some a little bit though, because something was literally glowing inside to put it in the box. So after Red approached her to go, well, the cat returned and doing the same thing that Uma said in the end. Like, totally. Like, this isn't the end of the story, right? Because if it isn't, something would happen. And that thing, from that one point, I think we might have another installment. Hey there, thanks for making it so far into this video. Now before I should continue, I'm gonna pause for a moment. Now, yeah, by subscribing to this channel, you'll give me more support than right now, because the way you subscribe to this channel, the support that you give to me will be important to my future, of course. I'm currently recovering from the passing of my paternal grandfather, and I just want to get myself back into relevancy now. So if you wanted to continue to support myself as you usually do, then please like this video, comment if you have any suggestions what should I do next, subscribe to this channel, and also to my Eurovision channel where I do Eurovision content, and hit that bell and set it to all, so where you're going to get all notifications when a new sort of videos pops up. And this is you can also check out my socials in my link tree linked, and this channel's homepage as well, where you can also find all my other socials. Now with that matter, let's get you back into this video. Not gonna lie, this is way wicked than its predecessor, which I'll explain a little later though. So what really happened is that a lot of things really happened all in one go, like totally, you know, but we're gonna explain a little bit of what really happened in the events, as I just said, because it was a little interconnected in some way, but it is. So, yeah, the character development of some of the characters here have certainly made things a little more intense here. You know, Red and Chloe at first are so optimistic, but then Chloe's uneasiness and eventually siding with Max, well, that changed a little bit of the drama going on here. But after, you know, some little thinking once after she encountered Red and now a little deprecated Volt, well, she decided to change her mind, and now they literally reconciled. So yeah, that's a very, very crazy character development from her as well. And it's very interesting to see some of the other characters have gone through their own character developments as well. Red and Lewis is kind of interesting here, and it seems that Red now have a crush on him though. Same thing for Lewis as well. To her, well, it's interesting that their relationship's getting a little more interesting here. Same thing for Chloe and Max. For some point, they were bad sided at first because of how they felt betrayed with all those stuff. But now, ever since Max has been, you know, captive again, well, they're now feeling good now, I might say, but at least there's something. And you know, Pink, despite the fact that it's kind of fresh and new, she has a very, very great charisma, which I might say she's always happy at one point, whatever's going on here. But it's interesting that her character development is so great, especially when it comes towards Red, which is, at first, it's kind of a bit weird, but eventually it goes on, so that's impressive. But, yeah. But on the other hand, we got some other character developments from the other VKs of some sorts. And, yeah. Hazel, despite the fact that she's at least a little mischievous. She is basically down tempo for at least a little bit. She's less a little more something like that than that of her brother and eventually her father. Well, she has a very interesting character development as well, even though that she has less evil side of some sorts, despite the fact she's also a VK some sorts. And yeah, and her development with the Smee twins is interesting. Like the Squeaky and Screamy were very hilarious for some reason, which I found it interesting though. Also, Wabi and Felix, they were alright. They had a little character development though, especially when they were literally and Teacup and what? Yeah, I found that moment funny though when Hazel and Lewis were wondering about where they are, and that was hilarious. Eventually they were found, and eventually they decided to snap on with them. So I found that moment interesting though. So let's move on. And speaking of, Bridget and Nella, well, look at where they are now. Where they were nice at least. But we're so glad that they were still, being nice, as might say. But a little to note though, it's kind of a bit crazy that they were still a little bit interconnected, I might say. But it's interesting that their character development seems to have a little good now, since they're no longer on their opposite sides, and now they're on one-sided now, so that's good. But yeah, it's really nice to say. But I really love their duet, which is very impressive. So yeah, now on to Maddox. Well, he's now more evil than I've expected now. Even though that he was still good and a little good in the previous film, well, he's way mad than I ever expected. Like, he literally took off the stage. Like, he literally messed up the whole thing. Like, totally. He literally controlled the chess pieces, whatever this thing is. He literally messed up the whole Wonderland thing, boarding up the throne room and eventually the rabbit hole. And yeah, this is kind of a bit crazy here. But once after he was captive, all those things have been reversed. So that's something. And it's interesting that we got a male villain in a Descendants film, which is the first time we've seen it. Well, at least there's something, which is nice to hear, because yeah, he's the first main antagonist here. Yeah, we did have a main antagonist though, but only a little bit though, because it was 80s. But we actually know that Audrey is the main villain in Descendants 3, by the way, so yeah, I have to stop complaining anyway. So on the other hand, as I said, the events were kind of interconnected at one point, but it's interesting that all those things have really happened all in one go. As I said, the choreography is way intense than I ever expected, It's interesting that all things have certainly made it to the point though. Like, yeah, I found some moments to be great, I found some scenes to be good, but it is interesting though. And the songs were, they were very 8 for me. Like, totally. Like, I found some of them very catch on all along. Like, the first song, Perfect Princess, well, it seems interesting, though. I found some moments very interesting. Like, whatever that this thing here. But whatever, yeah, it's interesting to hear some very interesting moments. Like, Dancing with the Enemy is basically this movie's answer to Night Falls, of which it has the same, mechanic, of which those knights were controlled by Audrey, and as in this case, to these chess figures being controlled by Maddox. And yeah, I found some very interesting things as well. So yeah, but at least this movie has some little interesting upgrade from the previous one, of which that really happened all in one thing. So yeah, so let's just cap this off by saying my own rating now. So the events were very way bigger than I ever expected, which is basically what it is. The songs were very 8. The choreography is very intense than I've expected, and the character development of all the characters were pretty insane. Also, I kind of like the looks of the costumes of, every character here, which is something. And I kind of like a little bit of some of them here. Like, Pink is way glittery than I ever expected, and, but I really ate their costumes, so yeah, overall, Wicked Wonderland is a very great movie, I might say, but the overall events in this film is kind of a bit crazy. Like, they were so wicked that I had to say this is way better than the Wise of Red, at least in the most part, especially with all those things. But at least it's way more colorful than I expected. So for me, I decided to give Descendants Wicked Wonderland an 8-tier rating. Now, as you may know, this movie is still great, but I really have to say all the parts were so interconnected that I decided to give it an 8 tier. Especially for the fact that, you know, a lot of things really happened, and I still have to give praise for all of those stuff. So for me, this is good, which is a very great one, and especially with the fact that it still turned out to be a very great Disney Channel original movie though, but even less level than Zombies 4 though, I still really love it. So, yeah. So when it mattered, I have already watched all 5 movies in this franchise. Hold on. Have you already watched all of those? Yeah. So let me take a little moment at what I'm saying on the previous 4 movies, because I did review the first 3 movies on my old channel, and I haven't even done a review on The Rise of Red here in my whole life. So let me refresh your mind with what I have to say with these films. For context, I have watched and reviewed all the 3 movies of the original incarnation of this franchise as part of the franchise's 10th anniversary last year. So yeah, so what I had to say about the first one, well, at least there were very interesting moments in this one. Like, the songs were very 8, I might say, especially for the fact that there were some that made me impressed, and the overall character development is interesting though. Like, you know, I don't want to call here, so that was an A-. On to the second one, which is basically bigger than I've expected, but way shorter than before. At least there were some very great moments, especially in this one. Like, you know, a lot of things really happened, especially for Uma's character development though. That's interesting. I also found the songs very well lit as well. So yeah, that's an 8 tier. On to Descendants 3, which is unfortunately the last one that featured, you know, Carlos. Well, this film is so emotional, I might say here. You know, at first it was kind of okay, but I found out that there were some moments that really changed it. You know, Ben's proposal to Mao, Audrey becoming the Queen of Mean, and, you know, the barrier situation here. And even we found out that Hades is actually Mouse's dad, at least there were some very great moments though, especially with the fact that all of this happened in one go. I do also like all the songs here, which is okay, but, you know, the way that they literally unlock the barrier is kind of a bit mesmerizing, but I'm so happy for them that they literally let all the Isle people to get out, which is very impressive, which led to the reason why Maddox had his own house in Wicked Wonderland, by the way. So that's something. But I'm so happy for them that they are now living in one piece. So because of all those stuff, I gave it an A+. Now for The Rise of Red, I haven't even watched nor reviewed this film yet until I saw it. So yeah, I saw that film literally one day before Wicked Wonderland, and from what I can tell, this is basically what it is. So let me explain. So, you know, Red is being introduced, and, you know, Bowie and all those stuff, as we're about to enter a new chapter here since, you know, Cameron passed. So yeah, Uma invited Red to go to Overdone Prep, of which Cinderella's also, his daughter is also going as well, of which, because of the Queen of Hearts is not so great but hostile look, she decided to, I kid you not, do a riot and Overdone Prep, and literally had to kill Cinderella, but that pocket watch changed it. So they decided to avoid Juliana's plans, and, you know, that happened. And that was a crazy development though, you know, very crazy. It was at least a lot more crazier than before, especially with all those hostile things that the Queen of Hearts did. And it's interesting, the character development did help a lot of things here as well, so that's something. But what really happened is that this is crazy. Like, you know, the character development is crazy. The songs were very 8 and the choreography is way more intense than I've expected. But at least it's a very great movie that I had to enjoy, I might say, for the first time that I watched it. But that really happened. So with that mattered, I gave that movie an A tier of a rating though. But I haven't even explained that much because I haven't even done a review yet. But with that mattered, Wicked Wonderland now ties with Descendants 2 and The Rise of Red in my ranking. So that's something that I had to bring up here. But yeah, so despite the fact that it is still interesting here to explain here, I still really love Wicked Wonderland, especially with all those tropes and other stuff. But I really love the overall aesthetic of this Disney Channel original movie. So yeah, go into it. So with that matter, that's it for my review on Wicked Wonderland, and I know that this is highly anticipated, it is, but it is what it is. So with that matter, that's it for today's review. Now what you expect next is, of course, I have to do some other stuff here. My Daredevil Born Again Season 2 review, well, I promise that it will be released by next week. So hopefully, I will, maybe at one point, I will post my own review on Daredevil Born Again Season 2. I have watched all 8 episodes, and I am prepared to finish up my review. I did record that review right before Wicked Wonderland released, so I decided to make up some changes though, but whatever. So I guess this is my first review in a while, but it is. But in case of a TV series, that's basically what it is. And I realized that this is my first movie review on this channel, so I get it now. But anyways, alongside Daredevil Born Again Season 2, I also planned to do a Wonderland review as well, of which I am gladly that I hope that I should watch the whole thing and I'll review it by the end of the month, hopefully, I guess. Also, there will be more content coming your way as well, more reactions as well and all those stuff. So yeah, so with that matter, thank you guys for watching this video, and make sure that you followed all my socials when you found them in my link tree. So my link tree is over in this channel's homepage as well. And with that matter, I'll be seeing you on my next video. So stay calm and wicked, folks.